I'm sitting in my neurologist's office, perfectly lucid, about to confess something that's going to destroy multiple lives, including my own. For the past 8 months, I've been faking Alzheimer's disease. And in those 8 months, I've heard things that no husband, father, or business partner should ever have to hear. What I discovered while pretending to lose my mind is so devastating, so completely unbelievable that I'm still processing it. But here's the thing. I recorded everything, every single conversation, every betrayal, every lie, and now I'm about to burn it all down. Real quick, if you're already hooked by this insane story, hit that like button and subscribe because this gets even crazier. Trust me, you won't believe where this goes. We share real millionaire confessions here every single day, and this one is absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, so let me take you back to where this nightmare actually started. My name is Robert Chen, and up until about a year ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I'm 52 years old, and I built a tech consulting empire from absolutely nothing. We're talking a company worth about $340 million, with offices in San Francisco, Austin, and Seattle. I started in my garage 26 years ago, writing code and cold calling businesses, and turned it into something I was genuinely proud of. The American dream, right? Work hard, sacrifice everything, build something meaningful. I lived in Atherton, California. Yeah, one of the most expensive zip codes in America. My house was this beautiful 8,000 square foot modern masterpiece with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. I'm talking a $12 million property that I bought in cash after our Series C funding round. My wife, Jennifer, decorated the whole thing. She had impeccable taste, I'll give her that. Everything was cream and gray and perfectly minimalist. We had a chef's kitchen that probably cost more than most people's entire houses. Jennifer and I had been married for 27 years, high school sweethearts if you can believe it. We met when we were 16 in AP Physics, and I literally thought she was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. She had this way of making everything feel easy, you know? We got married right after college, and she stuck with me through those brutal early startup years when we were eating ramen and sleeping on an air mattress in our studio apartment in San Jose. We had 2 kids. Marcus was 25, working as an associate at Goldman Sachs in New York, absolutely crushing it. And then there was Lily, 23, who had just graduated from Stanford with a degree in marketing. She was living at home temporarily while she figured out her next move, or at least that's what she told us. Both kids were smart, driven, everything you could want. I also had a business partner, David Strongberg. We'd been partners for 18 years, ever since he joined as our CFO and I gave him 30% equity in the company. David was like my brother. We golfed together every Sunday, our families did Thanksgiving together, we took joint vacations to Cabo every year. His wife, Patricia, and Jennifer were best friends. They did yoga together, went to wine tastings, the whole suburban wealthy mom thing. My typical day started at 5:30 a.m. I'd work out in our home gym, shower, and be in the office by 7. I usually worked until 7 or 8 p.m., came home to dinner with Jennifer, maybe caught up on some emails, and crashed by 11. Weekends were for family time and golf. It was a good life. Actually, it was an amazing life. Looking back now, I should have seen the signs. Jennifer started being distant around March of last year. She'd be on her phone constantly, smiling at messages and quickly minimizing screens when I walked into rooms. She started going out with friends more. Tuesday night book clubs, Thursday wine tastings, Saturday yoga retreats. I chalked it up to empty nest syndrome. Marcus had moved to New York 2 years prior, and Lily was finishing up at Stanford. Maybe Jennifer was just finding herself again. David had been acting weird too. He'd been pushing hard for us to bring in outside management, suggesting we should both step back a bit. Enjoy the fruits of our labor, he'd say, clapping me on the back. He wanted to hire a new CEO, keep us as board members, but essentially phase out of day-to-day operations. I resisted because honestly, the company was my baby. I wasn't ready to let go.
But I had no idea that everything I believed about my life was about to come crashing down in the most devastating way possible. It started in late April last year. I was in a routine physical, just regular checkup stuff. My doctor, Dr. Morrison, was going through the standard tests when he paused while checking my reflexes. "Robert, I want to run a few cognitive tests," he said, his voice careful. "Just routine, but I'm seeing some things I want to rule out. I laughed it off. "Come on, Steve, I'm fine. I'm sharp as ever." But he insisted, so I did the tests. Memory recall, pattern recognition, all that stuff. And here's the thing, I actually did poorly. Not because something was wrong with me, but because I'd been stressed and exhausted. We were in the middle of a massive acquisition negotiation. I'd been sleeping maybe 4 hours a night, and I was running on caffeine and adrenaline. The results came back concerning. Dr. Morrison wanted to do more tests, including an MRI. He mentioned early onset cognitive decline. Not Alzheimer's specifically, but enough to scare the hell out of me. I went home that night absolutely terrified. I didn't tell Jennifer immediately because I didn't want to worry her before we knew anything concrete. But I was spiraling, thinking about my grandfather who'd had Alzheimer's, wondering if this was genetic, if I was about to lose everything I'd built, not just my company, but my mind. The MRI was scheduled for 2 weeks later. In those 2 weeks, I became hyper-aware of every mental slip, forgetting where I put my keys, blanking on a client's name, losing my train of thought in meetings. I was probably psyching myself out, but the fear was real. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Thursday in early May. I came home around 8 p.m., exhausted from a particularly brutal board meeting. Jennifer was in the kitchen, and I could hear her on the phone. "No, he has no idea," she was saying, her voice low. "The neurologist said it could be early stages. This is actually perfect timing." My blood went cold. I froze in the hallway, listening. I know," she continued. "But think about it. If he's really declining, we need to act fast. The business, the assets, everything. We can't wait." I felt sick to my stomach. My hands were literally shaking as I stood there, barely breathing, trying to process what I was hearing. "David's on board," she said. "He thinks we can have everything transferred within 6 months if we do this right. Robert trusts him completely." "David? My business partner David?" "I love you too," Jennifer whispered. "This is going to work out. I promise. We'll finally be together and we'll have everything we deserve." I backed out of the hallway as quietly as I could, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I went back outside, sat in my car in the driveway, and just stared at nothing. Everything I thought I knew about my life had just shattered in about 90 seconds. My wife was having an affair with someone, and she was planning something with David, my best friend, my business partner, involving my potential cognitive decline. They were going to use my health condition, a condition I might not even have, to take everything from me. I sat there for probably 20 minutes, trying to calm down, trying to think rationally. Then I went inside, acting like I just arrived. Jennifer was all smiles, asking about my day, being the perfect wife. It was like watching a stranger wear my wife's face. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there next to Jennifer, listening to her breathe, and I realized something. I couldn't confront her yet. I didn't know enough. Who was she having an affair with? What exactly were they planning? How deep did this go? Little did I know, that was just the tip of the iceberg. The next morning, I went to see Dr. Morrison before the MRI. I told him I wanted to keep the test results private for now, no matter what they showed. He looked concerned but agreed. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I asked him what early-stage Alzheimer's looked like. What would the symptoms be? He explained. Memory lapses, confusion about time and place, difficulty with familiar tasks, changes in mood or personality, withdrawal from social activities. Patients in early stages could still function, but might seem off to people who knew them well. I absorbed every detail because I'd already made my decision. I was going to fake it. I was going to pretend to have Alzheimer's disease. I know how that sounds. Believe me, I know. But I needed to know the truth. If I confronted Jennifer or David without proof, they'd just deny everything, maybe accelerate whatever they were planning, and I'd lose everything anyway. But if they thought I was mentally declining, if they thought they were safe, they'd show me exactly who they really were. The MRI came back clean. Dr. Morrison was relieved, thought maybe I'd just been stressed. But I asked him to keep the results confidential and to document in my file that there were concerns requiring monitoring.
He was confused but complied. Doctor-patient confidentiality meant he couldn't tell anyone anyway, but I needed that paper trail. Then I went home and started my performance. It started small. I'd forget conversations, ones I absolutely remembered, and ask Jennifer to repeat things. I'd put my phone in weird places, like the refrigerator, and act confused about how it got there. I'd pause mid-sentence, looking lost, then shake my head and change the subject. I'd call Marcus by the wrong name occasionally, then correct myself with an embarrassed laugh. Jennifer noticed immediately. I could see the concern on her face, but behind it, and this killed me, I could see something else. Calculation. She started documenting things, writing down my episodes in a little journal she thought I didn't know about. Within 2 weeks, she'd told David. I know because I'd started recording everything. I bought these tiny voice-activated recorders and hid them all over the house, in the living room, the kitchen, our bedroom, my home office. I also put one in David's office at work when he stepped out for a meeting. I know, legally gray area, but I was beyond caring about that. I needed to know the truth. And oh God, did I get the truth. The first major recording was Jennifer and David talking in my home office on a Saturday while I was supposedly napping upstairs. I was actually sitting on the stairs, listening through the recorder in real time via my phone. "It's progressing faster than I thought," Jennifer said. "He forgot we had dinner plans last night, just completely forgot. And this morning he couldn't remember how to use the coffee maker. He stood there staring at it for like 5 minutes. I hadn't forgotten any of that. I deliberately skipped our dinner reservation because I wanted to see her reaction, and I'd pretended to be confused by the coffee maker because she'd been watching me." "How long do you think we have?" David asked. "Dr. Morrison said early onset can progress quickly in some cases. Could be a year, could be 5. But Robert's episodes are getting more frequent. I think we need to move faster." "I've been preparing the paperwork," David said. "Power of attorney, trust restructuring, the whole thing. Once he signs these, we can gradually move assets. He trusts me completely. He'll sign whatever I put in front of him."
"And what about the kids?" Jennifer asked. "Marcus is in New York, barely pays attention to what's happening here. Lily's the only wild card. She's close to Robert." Actually laughed. "Lily's so wrapped up in her own drama, she won't notice. Besides, she'll understand once we explain that we're protecting her father's legacy." "When are you going to tell him about us?" David asked. There was a pause. Then Jennifer said, "After we have everything secured. Once the assets are transferred and he's been declared incompetent, there's nothing he can do about it. We can be together openly, take control of the company, and live the life we deserve." "I've waited 8 years for this, Jen." 8 years. They'd been having an affair for 8 fucking years. "I know, baby," Jennifer said. "Just a little longer. Robert's mind is going. Soon he won't even remember who I am. And honestly, that's the kindest thing that could happen to him. He won't have to know how completely we destroyed him." I had to put my fist in my mouth to keep from screaming. The rage that went through my body in that moment, I can't even describe it. These were the 2 people I trusted most in the world, and they were casually discussing how to steal everything from me while I supposedly lost my mind. But wait, it gets worse. So much worse. What I discovered next completely blindsided me. About a month into my decline, Lily started acting strange. She'd been distant, and I'd been so focused on Jennifer and David that I hadn't paid much attention. But one evening, she came home late, around 11 p.m., and I heard her talking to someone on the phone in the backyard. I had a recorder out there too, hidden in the patio furniture. "Mom doesn't suspect anything," Lily was saying. "She's too busy with Uncle David to notice what I'm doing." Uncle David. That's what she'd always called him. They'd been in our lives since she was 5 years old. "I know it's risky," she continued, "but Dad's getting worse. If I'm going to do this, I need to do it now, before he can't access the accounts anymore." My blood turned to ice. Lily? My baby girl? "I've already moved about $200,000, she said. Small transfers, nothing he'd notice. "The offshore account you set up is perfect. Mom and David are so focused on the big picture that they're not watching the database transactions." Who the hell was she talking to? "I love you too, Ryan," she said. "Once I get the rest out, we can disappear, start over somewhere new. My parents won't even remember I exist." Ryan? I didn't know any Ryan. I went through her social media that night, hacked her Instagram using a password recovery trick, and found him. Ryan Castellano. Some wannabe entrepreneur she'd met at a crypto conference 6 months ago. His Instagram was full of pictures of luxury cars and private jets, all clearly rented or borrowed, the classic fake-it-till-you-make-it scammer vibe. My own daughter was stealing from me. Not just stealing, but planning to drain my accounts and disappear. I sat in my home office that night, surrounded by my perfect life, and realized I was completely alone. My wife wanted to take my company and my money. My business partner was helping her do it. My daughter was stealing from me. The only person who wasn't actively trying to destroy me was Marcus, and that was only because he was 3,000 miles away and had no idea what was happening. That's when I stopped pretending to have early-stage Alzheimer's. I started acting like I had moderate-stage Alzheimer's. I became confused about where I was. I'd forget how to drive and have Jennifer take me places. I'd mix up the past and present, talking about events from 20 years ago like they just happened. I'd forget to shower, forget to eat, need help with basic tasks. I became completely dependent on Jennifer. And the more dependent I became, the more they revealed. The recordings over the next few months were absolutely devastating. I learned that David had been systematically preparing to push me out of the company for 2 years, long before any health concerns. He'd been building relationships with our board members, positioning himself as the stable leader while painting me as a workaholic who was burning out. I learned that Jennifer had been cheating on me with David for 8 years, but before David, there had been others. She'd had an affair with our pool guy, with one of David's friends, with a personal trainer. She'd become an expert at deception, and I'd been too busy building a company to notice. I learned that Lily had been planning this theft for 6 months, ever since she met Ryan at that conference. He'd specifically targeted her, knowing who her father was, and had been manipulating her to steal from me. She'd moved over $400,000 so far into untraceable offshore accounts. But I had no idea that there was an even deeper level to this betrayal. One evening in late September, about 5 months into my act, I was supposedly taking a nap upstairs. But I'd actually rigged up a camera in the living room because I wanted video evidence, not just audio. Jennifer had Patricia over, David's wife, her supposed best friend. They were drinking wine, and I watched through my phone as their conversation unfolded. "Have you told David that you know?" Jennifer asked Patricia. My heart stopped. Patricia knew? Patricia laughed bitterly. "About you two? I've known for 7 years, Jen. You think I'm stupid?" "Then why haven't you said anything?" Jennifer looked genuinely confused. "Because I don't care," Patricia said, pouring herself more wine. "David's a terrible lay and a worse husband. You can have him. But here's what you don't know. I've been planning my own exit strategy." "What do you mean?" "I've been documenting everything. Every affair David's had. And honey, you're not the only one. Every shady business deal, every penny he's hidden from Robert, every plan you two have made. I've got recordings, emails, everything." Jennifer went pale. "You've been recording us?" "For 3 years," Patricia said cheerfully. "And when this all blows up, and it will blow up, I'm going to divorce David and take him for everything he's worth. I've already talked to the best divorce attorney in San Francisco. She's salivating over my evidence. David's going to lose his stake in the company, his assets, everything. And you know what the best part is?" "What?" Jennifer whispered. "Robert's not actually sick." I almost dropped my phone. How did she know? "What are you talking about?" Jennifer said. "Of course he is. Dr. Morrison confirmed there were concerns. That's it.
I have a friend who works at the hospital. She pulled Robert's records for me. His MRI was clean. Everything was clean. He's faking it, Jen." Holy shit. Patricia knew, but she'd been letting it all play out because she was building her own case. "Why are you telling me this?" Jennifer asked, her voice shaking. "Because when this house of cards falls, I want you to know that I knew from the beginning. I want you to know that while you thought you were being so clever, you were actually being played. By me, by Robert, by everyone." Patricia stood up, drained her wine glass, and headed for the door. She paused with her hand on the handle. "Oh, and Jen, Robert's going to destroy you, and I'm going to watch it happen with popcorn." After Patricia left, I watched Jennifer have a complete breakdown on my living room camera. She called David in a panic, told him everything. I recorded that conversation too. They debated whether to confront me or accelerate their plans. David wanted to move immediately, before I could act. Jennifer was terrified, convinced I'd been playing them all along. They decided to act fast. They'd have me sign the power of attorney documents the next day, telling me they were just routine business papers. That night, I called my attorney. His name was Marcus Goldstein, and he was the best litigation attorney in Silicon Valley. I'd kept him on retainer for years for business matters, and now I was about to use him for something very different. "I need to see you first thing tomorrow morning," I told him. "I have something you won't believe, and I need you to help me burn my entire life to the ground." I spent the rest of that night backing up every recording, every video, every piece of evidence to multiple cloud storage systems and external drives. I sent copies to Marcus, to my accountant, and to Marcus, my son, not the attorney, in New York. The next morning, I told Jennifer I was going to the office early. Instead, I went to Marcus Goldstein's office and spent 4 hours laying out everything. I showed him every recording, every video, every piece of evidence. His face went from skeptical to shocked to absolutely enraged on my behalf. "This is airtight," he said. "We can destroy them, all of them. Are you sure you want to go nuclear?" "Absolutely," I said. "I want them to lose everything." We spent the next 3 days preparing. Marcus brought in forensic accountants to trace every penny Lily had stolen. He brought in corporate attorneys to analyze David's position in the company. He brought in a divorce attorney, the same one Patricia had hired, ironically enough, to handle Jennifer. And then we set the trap. I told David and Jennifer that I wanted to have a family meeting at the house on Saturday afternoon. Just us, Marcus, my son via video call, and Lily. I said I wanted to discuss my condition and the future of the family. They were thrilled, thinking this was their moment. Saturday afternoon came. I'd been acting extra confused all week, really selling the decline. Jennifer had been gentle and patient, already acting like the grieving widow. David had been coming by every day, bringing me papers to sign, which I'd been signing, but only after my attorney had reviewed them and confirmed they were actually harmless. They all gathered in the living room. Marcus was on video call from New York, confused about why I'd called this meeting. Lily was fidgeting, clearly uncomfortable. I sat down in my favorite chair, looked at all of them, and said something that made Jennifer's face go white. "So, I've been thinking clearly lately. Very clearly, actually. Turns out I don't have Alzheimer's at all. Funny how that works. I thought that was bad, but then something happened that changed everything. The silence in that room was deafening. Jennifer opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. David looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. Lily's face went from confused to terrified in about 2 seconds. What are you talking about?" Jennifer finally managed. "I'm talking about the fact that for the past 8 months, I've been pretending to have Alzheimer's disease. And in those 8 months, I've recorded every single conversation, every plan, every betrayal. I've got everything, Jennifer. Everything." David stood up. "Robert, I don't know what you think you heard." "Sit down," I said, my voice cold. "Sit the fuck down, David." He sat. "Marcus," I said, looking at the video call, Your mother has been having an affair with David for 8 years. They've been planning to have me declared incompetent so they could steal my company and my assets. I have hours of recordings proving it. My son's face on the screen went through about 17 different emotions. Dad, what? Lily, I continued, has stolen approximately $437,000 from my accounts over the past 6 months, transferring it to offshore accounts with her boyfriend Ryan, planning to disappear. Lily burst into tears. Dad, I can explain. Explain what? I snapped. Explain how you stole from your father while thinking he was losing his mind? Please enlighten me. Then I played the recordings. I played Jennifer and David discussing how to manipulate me. I played Lily talking to Ryan about stealing my money. I played Patricia telling Jennifer that I'd been faking it all along. The room was dead silent, except for the voices coming from my speakers, destroying every relationship I'd ever valued. When the recordings ended, I stood up. I've already filed for divorce, Jennifer. As of yesterday morning, you'll get nothing in the settlement. California is a community property state, but adultery affects spousal support, and I have evidence that you've been planning to defraud me. My attorneys are very confident. Robert, please. Jennifer reached for me. Don't touch me, I said, stepping back. David, as of Monday morning, you're being removed from the company. I've already talked to our board, showed them everything. They're voting to terminate your position and buy back your shares at a discounted rate based on your breach of fiduciary duty. You'll be lucky to see 10 cents on the dollar. David's face turned purple. You can't do that. I absolutely can. I've been meeting with attorneys all week. It's done. And Lily, I said, looking to my daughter, who was sobbing on the couch, I've already reported the theft to the FBI. Wire fraud, money laundering, it's federal. Your boyfriend Ryan is already in custody, by the way. They picked him up yesterday. He gave you up in about 30 seconds to try to get a plea deal. Dad, please, I'm so sorry. Lily was hyperventilating now. Marcus, I said to my son on the screen, you're the only one who didn't betray me. When this is all settled, you and I are going to rebuild everything together, if you want to. Marcus was crying now, but he nodded. Of course, Dad. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry. That's when Jennifer lunged at me. Actually lunged. She tried to grab my phone, screaming about how I'd destroyed her life, how she'd given me the best years of her life, how I was a workaholic who never appreciated her. I gave you everything, she screamed. I gave you 27 years. I supported you when you had nothing. And I gave you everything I had, I said quietly. Every single thing. I built an empire for you, for our kids, for our future. And you tried to steal it from me while pretending to care for me during a devastating illness. David tried to defend himself, saying it wasn't personal, it was just business, that I'd understand if I could see it from his perspective, that he deserved more equity in the company, that I'd always undervalued his contributions. I just stared at him. This man I'd considered my brother. Get out of my house, both of you, now. They left, David practically dragging Jennifer out the door. Lily sat there, still crying, and I couldn't even look at her. You have 24 hours to get an attorney, I told her. After that, I can't help you. What you did is a federal crime, and there will be consequences. Daddy, please. She used her childhood name for me, and it broke something in my chest, but I couldn't let myself feel it. I loved you more than anything in this world, I said, and you stole from me while thinking I was losing my mind. I don't know who you are anymore. After they all left, I sat alone in my living room, in my $12 million house, and I felt absolutely nothing. No relief, no satisfaction, just emptiness. Quick reminder, if you're invested in this insane story, hit that like button if you haven't already, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens next, because somehow this gets even more unbelievable. The legal proceedings took about 6 months. They were brutal. Jennifer fought the divorce hard, claiming that I'd emotionally abused her by faking an illness, that I'd violated her privacy by recording her. Her attorneys tried to argue that the recordings were inadmissible. They lost. California is a one-party consent state, and I was the one party in every conversation. The recordings stood. The divorce was finalized in March. She got minimal spousal support, $10,000 a month for 3 years. And that was only because we'd been married so long, and California law practically required it. She'd been hoping for millions. She got basically nothing. No share of the company, no share of our investments, nothing. She did get to keep some jewelry and personal items. She moved in with her sister in Oakland. David's removal from the company was even more satisfying. The board voted unanimously to terminate him for breach of fiduciary duty and fraud. We bought back his 30% stake for about $15 million, approximately 15 cents on the dollar of what it was actually worth. He threatened to sue, but his attorney advised against it once they saw all the evidence. He would have lost and ended up paying our legal fees too. But here's the twist that made it all worth it. Patricia absolutely destroyed him in their divorce. She got the house, half of his buyout money, and ongoing alimony. David went from being worth about $100 million on paper to being worth maybe $6 to $7 million after everything was settled. He moved to Arizona, last I heard. Couldn't show his face in Silicon Valley anymore. The real tragedy was Lily. The FBI case against her was solid. She'd committed wire fraud and money laundering, federal crimes that carry serious time. Ryan, her scumbag boyfriend, took a plea deal and testified against her in exchange for a reduced sentence. He got 3 years. Lily was looking at 7 to 10. I could have let it happen. God knows she deserved it. But she was still my daughter, and despite everything, I couldn't watch her go to prison for a decade.
I hired the best criminal defense attorney money could buy. We negotiated a plea deal. Lily would return every penny she'd stolen, which the FBI had already frozen in the offshore accounts, serve 2 years in a minimum security federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. She'd also have to do 500 hours of community service after her release. She took the deal. She's currently serving her sentence at FCI Dublin in California. I visit her once a month. We don't talk much. She cries a lot, apologizes, says she was manipulated by Ryan. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. I don't know anymore. Marcus flew home from New York and has been working with me to rebuild. He quit Goldman Sachs and came on as my new COO. We've actually grown the company since all this happened. We're now worth about $425 million, and we're eyeing an acquisition that could push us over $500 million. The part that still haunts me is Patricia. Remember her, David's ex-wife? She reached out to me about 3 months after everything exploded, asked if I wanted to get coffee. I met her at a place in Palo Alto, and she laid out something I hadn't expected. "I knew you were faking the whole time," she said. "From about month 2, I figured it out. You were too consistent in your inconsistencies. Real Alzheimer's patients aren't that predictable." "Why didn't you say anything?" I asked. "Because I needed them to think they were winning. I needed David to feel safe enough to make mistakes, to document his plans, to give me ammunition for the divorce. You faking Alzheimer's was the perfect cover for me to build my case against him. So you used me." "We used each other," she corrected. "You got your evidence, I got mine. We both won." I didn't know whether to be impressed or horrified. Did you actually care about any of them? Jennifer? David? Jennifer was convenient, Patricia said with a shrug. I never liked her, honestly. She was always fake, always calculating. David was a means to an end. I married him for his money. He married me for my family's connections. We had a transaction, not a marriage. That's cold. That's honest, she said. Unlike them, I never pretended to love David. He knew what our marriage was, but he also didn't think I was smart enough to outmaneuver him. We've stayed in loose touch, Patricia and I. She's not a friend exactly, but there's a mutual respect there. She's now dating some tech CEO and seems genuinely happy, for whatever that's worth. But the universe wasn't done yet. About 9 months after everything came out, I got a call from Jennifer. She'd never called me directly since the divorce. Everything had gone through attorneys. "I need to see you," she said, her voice small. "Please, it's important."
I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop in San Jose, neutral territory. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. She'd lost maybe 30 pounds, her hair was different, and she looked old, worn out. She'd aged a decade in less than a year. "I'm sick," she said after we sat down. "Stage 3 breast cancer. I found out 2 months ago." I felt a wave of something. Not quite sympathy, but not satisfaction either. Just sadness. "I'm sorry to hear that." "I don't deserve your sympathy," she said. "I know that. But I needed to tell you something before I start treatment in case I don't make it." "Okay. Marcus isn't your biological son." The coffee shop seemed to tilt. "What?" "I had an affair 26 years ago, right after we got married, before Marcus was born. He's not yours. I got a paternity test done after he was born, and I've known his whole life." "I'm sorry." I sat there, unable to process what I was hearing. Marcus, my son, the only person who hadn't betrayed me, wasn't even mine biologically? "Does he know?" I managed to ask. "No. No one knows except me and the man who's actually his father." "Who?" "It doesn't matter. He's dead now. He died 5 years ago. But I needed to tell you. You deserve to know the truth, even if I didn't deserve to tell you." She left after that, just stood up and walked out, leaving me sitting there with this nuclear bomb of information. I didn't know what to do with it. I went home, sat in my office, and just thought. Marcus was 25 years old. I'd raised him. I'd taught him to ride a bike, helped him with his homework, sat through his baseball games, moved him into his dorm at Columbia. Biology didn't change any of that. I called him that night. "Dad, what's up?" He sounded cheerful, probably working late at the office like he always did. My work ethic, even if not my DNA. "I need to tell you something," I said, "and I need you to know that nothing changes between us no matter what." There was a pause. "You're scaring me. What's going on?" "Your mother told me today that I'm not your biological father." The silence on the other end of the line stretched for what felt like forever. "Dad," he finally said, his voice cracking, "I don't care. I don't care at all. You're my father. You raised me. You believed in me. You're the only parent who didn't betray me. Biology is it's just science. You're my dad." I started crying, actually crying, for the first time since this whole nightmare began. "You're my son," I said. "Always have been, always will be. I just needed you to know, and I needed you to know that it doesn't matter to me." "It doesn't matter to me either," he said. "Mom's already taken enough from us. She doesn't get to take this too." And that was that. We never discussed it again. Marcus is my son. Period. End of story. But Jennifer's revelation did answer one question I'd had. Why had she been so willing to betray me so completely? Maybe guilt over that original infidelity had festered for 25 years, warping into something toxic and resentful. Maybe she'd convinced herself I deserved what she was doing. I'll never really know, and honestly, I don't care anymore. Jennifer did survive her cancer, by the way. She underwent treatment, and as of last month, she's in remission. We don't talk. I don't wish her ill, but I don't wish her well either. She's just gone from my life, a ghost of a past that doesn't exist anymore. The legal fees for everything, the divorce, David's removal, Lily's defense, totaled about $3.2 million, worth every penny. Some people might think that's excessive, but I don't. Justice costs money, and I had money to spend. The company thrived without David. Turns out he'd actually been holding us back, playing it too safe, resisting innovation to protect his position. Marcus brought fresh ideas, and we pivoted into AI consulting right as the market exploded. That $425 million valuation I mentioned, we hit $580 million last quarter. We're in talks with a potential acquirer who's offering close to $700 million. I'm thinking about selling, not because I need the money, but because I'm tired. This whole ordeal aged me in ways that have nothing to do with pretending to have Alzheimer's. I'm 53 now, and I want to actually enjoy my life for once, instead of just building things. Marcus supports the sale.
He'd walk away with about $100 million after taxes if it goes through. Not bad for a 26-year-old. He's already talking about starting his own venture, something in the sustainable tech space. He's got his mother's ambition, thankfully without her moral bankruptcy.
I moved out of the Atherton house. Too many bad memories. I bought a smaller place, and by smaller, I mean 4,000 square feet, in Carmel by the Sea. It's right on the ocean, and I can hear the waves from my bedroom at night. I sleep better now than I have in years. I've started dating again, which is weird at 53 after being married for 27 years. Nothing serious yet, just coffee dates and dinners. It's actually been kinda nice, getting to know people without the weight of a whole life history. I'm honest with everyone I meet about what happened. If they can't handle it, they're not right for me anyway. David tried to reach out about 6 months ago, sent me an email saying he wanted to apologize, that he hoped we could find some kind of peace. I deleted it without responding. Some bridges don't get rebuilt. Some betrayals are too deep. He made his choices, and now he gets to live with the consequences. Patricia, David's ex-wife, actually introduced me to someone recently. A woman named Rebecca, who runs a nonprofit focused on Alzheimer's research and support. The irony isn't lost on either of us. Rebecca's funny, sharp, and she doesn't take any of my bullshit. We've been on maybe 5 dates. It's early, but there's something there, something real, which is new for me. Or maybe it's not new. Maybe it's just the first time I've actually been paying attention. The strangest part of all this is the occasional guilt I feel about the deception. I faked a devastating illness. I manipulated people by pretending to lose my mind. Some therapists? Yeah, I started seeing one, because apparently watching your entire life implode warrants professional help, have suggested that what I did was a form of emotional abuse, even if it was in response to their betrayal. I don't buy it. They were actively trying to destroy me. I defended myself using the only weapon I had, their own arrogance and cruelty. If they'd been good people, if they'd actually cared about me, my fake Alzheimer's would have brought out their best. Instead, it brought out their worst. That's on them, not me. Still, I think about it sometimes. Late at night when I can't sleep, I wonder who I became during those 8 months. The lying came so easily after a while. The performance felt natural. Maybe I have more in common with Jennifer than I'd like to admit. Maybe we're both capable of sustained deception when it serves our purposes. But then I remember sitting on those stairs, listening to my wife and best friend casually discuss stealing everything from me while I supposedly lost my mind, and the guilt evaporates. They deserved exactly what they got. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Drop a like if you think I did the right thing, and leave a comment telling me what you would have done in my situation. And subscribe if you want more real millionaire confessions like this. We post new stories every single day. Now, here's what I learned from all of this. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this: trust your gut, but verify everything. I ignored warning signs for months. Jennifer's distance, David's push to remove me from operations, the small inconsistencies in their stories. I ignored them because I trusted them, because I couldn't imagine they'd betray me. But trust without verification is just vulnerability. And the people closest to you have the most power to hurt you precisely because you've given them that access, that knowledge, that intimacy. The second lesson is harder. Sometimes the only way to find the truth is to let people think they've won. Jennifer and David would never have revealed their true selves if they'd thought I was watching. They needed to feel safe to show me who they really were. It was the most painful education of my life, but it was necessary. You deserve people who show up for you in your darkest moments, not people who see your struggles as opportunities to exploit. You deserve people who protect you when you're vulnerable, not people who calculate how to profit from your weakness. Don't ever settle for people who only love you when it's convenient, who only stay loyal when there's nothing to gain from betrayal. Life is too short to waste on people who see you as a means to an end, rather than as a human being worthy of basic decency. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't some elaborate scheme or public humiliation. Sometimes, it's just cutting toxic people out of your life completely, moving on, and building something better without them. Sometimes, it's just living well, loving authentically, and refusing to let their betrayal make you bitter. I'm not going to lie and say I'm completely healed. I'm not. I still have trust issues. I still wonder sometimes if the people in my life actually care about me or just what I can give them. I still wake up angry some mornings, thinking about those recordings, those betrayals. But I'm also free. Free from a marriage that was built on lies. Free from a business partner who saw me as an obstacle rather than a friend. Free from the constant performance of pretending everything was perfect when it was actually rotting from the inside. I get to rebuild now, and this time I'm building with people who actually deserve to be part of my life. Marcus, who proved that family is about choice and loyalty, not just biology. Rebecca, who sees me for who I actually am and likes what she sees. A few genuine friends who showed up when everything fell apart and didn't ask for anything in return. It's a smaller circle now, a smaller life in some ways, but it's real, it's mine, and nobody's trying to steal it from me while pretending to care. That's worth more than all the money in the world. If you're going through something similar, if you suspect betrayal, if you feel like something's off in your relationships, if you're wondering whether the people closest to you actually have your back, trust that instinct, investigate, protect yourself, and don't feel guilty about it. Your life, your hard work, your love, your trust, these are valuable things. Don't give them to people who don't deserve them. And if you've already given them to the wrong people, it's never too late to take them back. I pretended to lose my mind to find out the truth. It was extreme, it was unconventional, and it was probably the smartest thing I've ever done. Because now, I know exactly who people are when they think no one's watching. And that knowledge, as painful as it was to gain, has set me free. I'm Robert Chen. I'm 53 years old. I'm worth about $400 million, depending on the day. I have one son who I love more than anything, despite the biological twist. I live by the ocean. I'm dating someone who makes me laugh. I sleep well at night. And I don't have Alzheimer's disease. Not even a little bit.